Hey, we are back on the pig trail with Otis Kirk, our recruiting insider, and Otis has had a very busy weekend. Ben Hicks had a very busy weekend as well, getting the chance to visit the Hill. This guy obviously played under Chad Morris at SMU, looking to perhaps come to Arkansas, but obviously looked at Louisville as well. So kind of where's the scenario right now with Ben Hicks?
Well, he flew out to go home today, to talk to his family, and he's going to make a decision probably, either later today or early this week, because he's running into time frame because he is midterm, so you've got to be in here. He said if he comes to Arkansas, they start classes tomorrow, he'll be here this week at some point. So, yeah, he's just going to talk to his family, make a decision. He's by himself on the visit, best I could tell, and he offers them. We knew they were going to grad transfer at quarterback. Thought they might go for more of a dual threat, but I guess after looking at the scenario all out there, they got someone they're familiar with, someone who they are comfortable with, and who's comfortable with them. And like I said, I say guy, assuming he comes,
right.
but
Sure.
but I mean they went after someone. Kelly Bryant they were familiar with, and they didn't get him, so Ben Hicks they're familiar with, and he's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of experience in this system, so and they definitely, with the news that Ty Story was leaving, they definitely needed another quarterback in here.
That familiarity with the system, I mean, just knowing the offensive schemes that Chad Morris wants to put in place, how much of that is a factor moving forward with Ben Hicks?
Well, I think it was a big factor because I think that's what made maybe more comfortable with him than maybe some of the other kids that are out there with the grad transfers.
Right.
Is the fact that they don't have to spend the entire spring, entire summer, and entire preseason this fall teaching him the language, the things that you go into learning the system. Yeah, the terminology, everything. And he's already familiar with all that. He worked with Coach Craddock. He worked with Coach Morris at SMU. So he's familiar with that. And I think that was huge. I think that was probably, if there was any doubt on which quarterback, that they would take, I think that tilted the ball they are definitely in his favor. I'm saying if there was anyone that he was close with, I'm not saying there was, but there was, then that definitely tilted the ball in his favor.
Let's talk about next weekend because you got some official visitors coming in. Obviously, this is a pretty large number of visitors coming in. So who can we touch on here that in particular we should look for? Well,
you got the two kids from Warren are finally going to get to take their official visits. Traylon Burks, Marcus Miller. You've got Miles Brooks is a kid that's kind of been, he committed last summer, and then nobody really heard much about him.
Yeah.
But he kind of had a weird tweet this week where big news was coming, but then he canceled that. So, he's coming in. You've got Ricky Stromberg from Tulsa's coming in for a visit. And, of course, we can't leave out Hudson Henry, some kid named Hudson Henry. I heard he's pretty good tight end. But, no, Hudson Henry will be here. And then you got a couple of kids, John David White, who I've talked about on this show that I really like, a wide receiver at Pulaski Academy, and then Finnegan Corwin from Highland Park. Those are both preferred walk-on wide receiver targets that they're on. Those kids will get to come in on an official visit next weekend as well. They brought Drew Vest in on an official visit. Not all the preferred walk-ons get official visits, but some of them do. And White's a kid that'll be interesting to watch, Drew. I've got a feeling that there might be, do you remember how they got Ty Clary? They've got Hayden Henry, they paid their way for a semester. I don't know that they will do that with John David White, but I do know it's important to him to get a scholarship, and I think you might, at least I'm going to be on the lookout to see if there's some kind of deal with that with John David, where maybe he comes and he walks on for a semester and then gets a scholarship in January. And like I said, that's not coming from anyone. That's just me speculating that might happen, because when I talked to John David after they got beat by Little Rock Christian, it was very important to him to get a scholarship.
Right.
He's got quite a few offers. He's got some schools that's wanting to pay his way, and I think it's important. Well, I know it's important to him, and so I think that's a pretty good compromise. That maybe if Arkansas could get him because of numbers to come come and play this fall, or redshirt, whatever, work out with the team, and then go on scholarship in January. I'm going to be looking to see if that happens, and we'll see if it does.
Lakia Henry, a guy who's certainly been in the news in the recruiting circles for the Arkansas Razorbacks, linebacker, decommitted from Tennessee. Florida State in the mix as well. Just kind of
Yeah.
update us on his progress and his process right now as far as his recruitment.
Yeah, Texas and Ole Miss are two schools that are trying to get in with him. You know, a lot of these kids signed early, and the ones that didn't, who are big-time players, everybody's pouncing on those kids. And so, like I said, Arkansas, Florida State, Tennessee did decommit from Tennessee, maybe since the last time we talked. But Florida State and Arkansas are very involved there. He's already visited Arkansas. He's got Ole Miss is trying to get him in next weekend for an official visit. We'll see if he takes it, or the weekend after that. I'm sorry. And I think it's Texas next weekend is trying to get him in. Don't know if he's going to take these visits, but we'll see how it works out. But he is a linebacker that could come in and be a candidate to take Dre Greenlaw's place at linebacker.
Which is huge, yeah.
Alongside Scooter Harris. I think Arkansas is the team to beat for right now. Now, that could change. There's a lot of rumors, you know, linking him to Florida State because, you know, it's easier to get into Florida State for JUCO kids. But we'll see. I still think Arkansas is in pretty good shape there. And then, of course, Jalen Catalon's another kid that they're really targeting, a safety from Mansfield Legacy. Mark Smith saw all those kids down there at Legacy this week. So, you know, when the period ended Friday, the dead period did, he was in there to see all three of those kids, and counting the two that signed early. And so, you know, the Catalan and Lakia Henry would really be a nice topping to this class. That's what they want. You know, they've got 21 commitments. They've got 21 signees, 6 commitments. You've got Ben Hicks out there, and then you've got these two kids we just talked about. That's the topping they want to go to this class.
Yeah, Catalan, one of the premier safeties I've seen. And it would
he
be
is.
special if they could get him. Guys on campus already from the early signing period. You just talked about the early signing period a little bit. But you've already got 8 from that period on campus, which is great, getting that little jump start before spring ball. Also, you have to add Andrew Vest, who, of course, is a preferred walk-on. He's out of Searcy. Good-looking kid.
Oh, yeah. If you're talking about just looking at him, he's as good looking as any of the offensive linemen they've signed. I mean, they had that picture of all those kids when they visited, and he was just as good looking as any of them, you know. Yeah, he's on campus. You've got the receivers, you know, Shamar Nash. You've got Trey Knox. You've got the other kid, Eric Gregory, coming from IMG Academy. They're both here. You know, Zach Williams is here. The Soley kid is here.
Tyler Soley.
Yeah, so Gregory Brooks is a kid. It's going to be fun to watch in spring ball. I mean,
the secondary.
Cornerback that's going to be fun to watch over there in spring ball if we get to see him play and if we get to see much spring ball.
We hope.
Course, yeah, Chabasi and Myron Cunningham.
Yep.
They're both here. So, you know, there's a lot of kids that are here, and that's what you want because those are kids that's going to be able to go through spring ball. They're going to get a head start on the other kids. I'm not saying that some of these other kids, like Hudson Henry, Traylon Burks, some of these kids are not going to come in and play. We know they will, but it does give you an advantage. I've talked to Sosa Geem and several kids that have come at midterm about how much of an advantage it meant for them. I mean, they're going to get 15 days of spring, 15 practices that the other players won't get. And that's not counting the off-season conditioning, just getting in here, meeting with the coaches, getting used to the situation, getting used to Fayetteville. People underestimate that, but you know, they're signing kids from all over the country.
Yep.
And to come in here and get a semester at Arkansas in Fayetteville, that's huge for a lot of these kids because it's, you know, think about the first time you ever went away from home, you know, and it's big. So that factor kind of gets lost at times, but I think that's big for these kids. They get kind of used to the situation here.
They need immediate help, and you mentioned Nuwana and Cunningham. Those guys, my goodness, so much hinges on those two. Let's kind of close with the fact that you know, you look forward to spring ball and this collection that he's brought in so far. I mean, you got to feel good about February 6th upcoming.
Yeah, you do. You feel good. You know, they've got those commitments and, you know, guys like Miles Brooks and Hudson Henry and those kids. And, yeah, they're all going to, and Traylon Burks, you know, they're going to ink in. And it's going to really, this class is taking shape on paper. And that's all, you know, people scoff at, oh, well, no, I mean, I'm just telling you on paper, it's one of the better classes. Now, how it'll turn out on the field, no one knows. They don't know. I mean, you know, you go out and you evaluate, you spend a lot of money evaluating and studying these kids, but you don't know how it's going to come together.
It's going to mesh.
But on paper, you know, it's rated pretty high, you know, and it's just to me, what I like about the class as much as anything, they've gotten a little bit of help you know, and sometimes a lot, but a little bit of help at everywhere. You know, they could use another linebacker. I like the one they've got,
Right.
but they've only got one. They could use another linebacker. They could use another safety. You know, they didn't sign a safety early, but they got a commitment from Miles Brooks and they're on Catalan. But you get those two kids, then you set safety. You get Lakia Henry, you know, or you know Christopher Russell. You know, if you get one of those two kids at linebacker to go with, you know, Zach out of Houston.
Zach Zemos.
Yeah. So I mean, I like the fact that Chad and them have addressed every need. And one thing, they've gotten 7 offensive linemen counting Vest. And you kept hearing all these years, you know, short on offensive linemen, short on offensive linemen. But then when recruiting came, they signed 2 or 3. We were always going to be short if you're only signing 2 or 3 a year. So, I mean, he kind of put his money where his mouth was on the scholarships and went out and signed a bunch of offensive linemen. So, you know, nobody likes to sign that many players at one spot in one class. But that's the only way you're going to get the numbers back where they need to be. You can talk about it, but until you do something about it, you're always going to be talking about it. So now Chad's went out and done something about it.
Back to the emphasis on the line of scrimmage in the
Exactly.
SEC. All right, Otis Kirk, good stuff there. He's on Hogville. That's it for now in our recruiting report. We have more of the Big Trail right after this.